Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host for this evening, Laura Tobin.
Thank you very much, and what a wonderful, warm, musical welcome we had here first thing. And I want to say good evening, and thank you to everybody, and to welcome you to the 2022 Ashden Awards. I am delighted to be here tonight at the RGS, and I know that people are also watching online as well, so a warm welcome to all of you, and also people watching from all around the world. I know many previous Ashden Award winners are here this evening, joining us both in person and also virtually, so welcome to you all. We're all here for the same reason. It is our love and passion for the environment and the world around us. I fell in love with weather at the age of 14 when my geography teacher taught the girls and boys in the classroom as we run around like lunatics from one side to the other. That is how the jet stream works, with warm air bumping into cold air. And the next day I phoned the Met Office and said, how do I become a weather forecaster? And they said, do A-level maths and physics. And for a 14-year-old girl to find that out, it's not the best news in the world. But it ended up working out well. I went to the University of Reading, where I studied physics and meteorology, and there was a class of 70, of which 65 were boys and 5 were girls. And one of them became my husband. So it was good or bad for him, I'm not sure. And I now have my dream job of presenting the weather every single day. I get to tell people what they need before they go out and leave the house. But actually, more importantly, it's been joining the dots, reporting on more extreme weather events that are happening more often and closer to home, communicating climate change to millions of people who watch our show and how it's impacting all of us. And I think it's really important for us to stop before we start the awards and just think about Earth. It is the star of our show, and it has everything we've ever known, everything we've ever loved, every plant, every animal, every human being. And it is solid and steadfast, but it's also fragile and vulnerable. We know that the world is warming at an alarming rate. Never before in human history has Earth been this hot, and if we do nothing, this is the coolest it will be for generations to come, including my daughter, who is 5, and I think about her all the time. So yes, we know Earth is getting hot. We know that it's changing before our eyes, from the ocean depths to the mountain tops, with relentless extreme weather events affecting ecosystems and communities, devastating millions of people all around the world. And with COP27 just around the corner, and now the news that Rishi is attending, which is wonderful, there continues to be more warnings than ever. Just today, from the World Meteorological Organization, that Europe is the continent that has been warming most over the last 30 years, from the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change. Also, the recent UN report to say that our current projections for 2100 is a warming of 2.8 degrees, way beyond the pathway of the 1.5 alive, which was the dream from COP26. There is no credible pathway at the moment to reach that, and we need to close our emissions gap before catastrophe closes in on all of us so that we can avoid this being our grim reality. Weather forecasts in the future, by 2050, seeing extreme temperatures, more wildfires, more extremes around the world. And I've seen firsthand how the landscapes have been changing because of climate change. I've met the people whose lives and livelihoods have had to change. I've heard the stories of how they impact wildlife. And all of these are accelerating and changing in the wrong direction. And there are many ways for us to communicate climate change. And before we begin with the awards, we're going to hear some inspirational words from Rakaya Fatuga, who has a wonderful poem weaving climate change into poetry.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here today at another Ashden Awards. I'm going to go straight in and read my poem, which is called Green New Hope. Bismillah. Close your eyes. Today we're giving the future wings. No more clipping at the shoulder blades, heads turned, ignoring climate change. Now each of us must find that green new hope growing inside, that lush ambition, that rush to listen to the voice securing dreams like feathers along the frame of our new day. In London, sometimes we see snapshots of so much that we see nothing at all. Sometimes we move too fast to think about it. Sometimes it takes unbearable heat, a taste of summers to come, houses and markets aflame for us to even call it by its name. But when I talk to my friends about home, Isra speaks of her family's open doors in El Ubaid and Khartoum, sitting around one huge dish, half full on food, half on stories and laughter. Sittle Shay ladies sitting outside, serving sweet coffee and warm conversation. The song, faith and smiles, full Madamas mornings and the lapping of the Nile. But the results of our ill climate means she's seen some Sudanese homes were washed away by violent rain, flooding the grounds they used to pray, where they loved and lost so many, where they planted their crops, always rising to rebuild in the morning. When Mario speaks of home, it's the open arms of people. Baim Vinda, Bearer welcomes all with soft white sands fine as flour. His father can point out a new kind of fish near their shore for every day of the year, in their often neglected but vibrant city. Sun golden as the mangoes, mangoes rich as the acacia trees, trees as wide as the hearts of the people. But they've seen what happens when home is torn away, gutted by a cyclone that lasted for days, thrashing dark winds over the brightest lands in Mozambique, turning all the lights out, only the corn kernels of devastation left to eat. He wants better for his city that hardly left a carbon footprint, but still shakes from the stamping of Western boots. Zina tells me about Iraq, where climate change is on the tongue of every grandmother and taxi driver. There is no way to ignore what has stolen crops from the ground and food from their plates. When I speak to Juwaria, she's raising funds for Pakistan, for Puerto Rico, Nigeria, Bangladesh, where people have long lived in emergency, birthed children and waded in it, chin deep in crisis, the surface shimmering like oil on a polluted sea. The pedestals of place, possession or privilege kept us dry, gave us time to overlook poverty, placelessness, persecution, a height that let us call it someone else's fight, someone else's ocean, even when it glimmered by our sides, while it thrashed and roared for our neighbors. The time to act is now. The moment is an open sky, so close your eyes. Today, we're giving the future wings. It's rising and equipped with all the important things we know and are ready to learn about this rich and wonderful earth that is worth all our best aspirations. There will be no more clipping at the shoulder blades, heads turned, ignoring climate change. Now each of us must find that green new hope growing inside. Let it free from your throat. Let it stream from your eyes. As our future takes off, watch it fly. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's amazing how, as you say, closing your eyes, how your words just conjure up all of these vivid images, and wonderful. Thank you so much. And it is natural to feel emotional. It is natural with the climate crisis that we are facing to also feel fear and anger and desperation and hopelessness. But let's remind ourselves that we can channel all those emotions into positive response, into positive ways. We can cut carbon, we can improve lives right across the world. There are so many multiple benefits, and that is what we are here to show tonight, to celebrate these climate champions who are rolling up their sleeves and getting the job done. And climate change is three things. It is simple, it is serious, and it is solvable. It's simple that Earth is overheating because it's wrapped in a blanket of our pollution. It's serious because we're seeing more extreme weather events than ever before. But the solvable is why we are here tonight, all of these amazing award winners. So let's get on with the 2022 Ashden Awards. And to make it to the final 8, the winners had to be competitive with 200 other people, other applicants. There were 2 rounds of rigorous judges, expert panels, and the assessors travelled far and wide to see them. So let's kick off with the very first UK award, which is for low carbon skills and is supported by Garfield Weston Foundation. And the winner is leading the charge to upskill a workforce, to make homes warm and energy efficient. Multi-benefits are yet again for tackling climate change. And it is Box for Box from Stockport. So let's see what they do.
I'm Ariane Landers. I've been in Stockport for quite a few years now, so I've become a local. I'm an assistant site manager for Beaver Box, and I'm also learning to be a retrofitter. We train up younger people in retrofitting, which is insulating a house to make it more cost-effective and energy efficient, and gives them job opportunities in the local community. There's a lot of fuel poverty in Stockport, and retrofitting helps people save money on these massive fuel prices. We are a multi-trade organisation. We train in plastering, joinery, tiling, kitchen fitting, bathroom fitting, insulating, the whole house basically, fitting triple glazing, which is a new one. There's a lot of opportunities for people from disadvantaged backgrounds, people who've struggled getting jobs in the past. Beaver Box are very inclusive, so they're not bothered about whatever's happened before. They just want to know that you've got the capacity to learn, that you want to learn. It's on-the-job training, so you are working, but you're getting paid to learn at the same time, which is brilliant. They sort of put you on a little train track towards success, which is great, because they're always encouraging you. And now it's a perfect opportunity to be trained in retrofit because they just haven't got enough people to do it by 2035, which is the date that the government has set for all, pre-existing houses to be retrofitted, which is just not going to happen without anybody trained. We're lucky that we're a training company and we get to, we're the ones at the start line now. I'm hopefully going to retrofit my own house, do it all myself, and get them prices down because it's ridiculous at the minute.
So, to hand out the awards, please welcome Melissa Murdoch from Garfield Weston Foundation, and to receive it, please welcome Aileen MacDonald from Box for Box. To grab the award. Pause for a photo with your award. Go on.
And my name's Aileen. It's called B4 Box because I wanted to demystify the process of building. Building is a box. What do you want in it? What do you not want in it? It's kind of simple. Don't listen to any builders who tell you otherwise. The film, Oriane is there, looking glamorous. And I want to say that Oriane represents an endangered species. What do I mean? Oriane has been paid all the way through her training. She has, along with everybody else you've just seen, monthly salaries, working conditions, pensions, all manner of things. That is an endangered species. What do I mean? 97% of the construction industry now is composed of SMEs of 10 people or less, and more than 95% are on zero-hours contracts. Impossible to refurbish 29 million buildings and houses to zero carbon with an unskilled workforce. How has it developed this way? In my opinion, it is systemic failures of commissioners, public procurement, and the construction industry to create real work opportunities and to support SMEs and full apprentices, as would have been the case to make that marvellous panelling, which, by the way, also represents internal wall insulation, but it looks beautiful and it can breathe. My vision is that we do decarbonise every house, and as a result of doing that, it would mean this: real work, real pay, jobs for life, 2-mile travel to work distance, that's what we have, beautiful, balanced buildings, even if they are small houses, and an 80% reduction in household bills. To get to that, it would mean whole sections of the community who do not talk to each other in a meaningful, granular way would have to speak to each other in a meaningful, granular way, which would be a marvellous bonus for the world in general. I'm saying, bring back that endangered species. Manual skills need to be really supported. I would just say this finally. There are new sources of energy being developed. We're confident in that. What matters is no matter what the source of energy, the rest of the fabric of the building is the important part. That's what Oriane and others are trained to do. And today, I was interviewed by the BBC, as one is, and somebody said to me, what do I think of the narrative which says people don't want to work? And I didn't really say what I really think of that narrative, but let me tell you what I do think. Millions of people want meaningful work, and this is the most meaningful work. It can be really well paid, it is highly skilled, and it would result in zero carbon. There are millions of people. When we have a job opportunity, 50 people apply. People want to work, people want zero carbon, people want beautiful, balanced buildings.
Thank you very much to Aileen, and congratulations to B for Box. Now, the next UK award is for Energy Innovation, and it's supported by Impacts Assessment Management. And the winner is from Scotland. It's one of the top places in the whole of Europe for wind. I know, I've definitely been there. And it is Renewable Parts, so let's see the amazing work they've been doing.
My name's Carol Sheath and I'm from Argyll on the west coast of Scotland. I am an engineering programme manager working for Renewable Parts. There are a number of parts in a wind turbine which wear and fail over time. For some parts that is planned, and for some parts it's unexpected. But what usually happens is those parts are removed, replaced with a new part. The used or failed part is thrown in a skip. And what Renewable Parts is trying to do is to create a circular chain where we take those used parts, remanufacture or refurbish them, and make them good to put back into a turbine and to use again. Quite often we can provide that part a lot quicker than it would take to get a new part in. There's a lot of carbon goes into manufacturing parts, so by refurbishing and remanufacturing, we're creating a huge carbon saving. Lochgilphead is a small town with a declining population, so obviously the creation of jobs here is fantastic. We offer apprenticeships at Renewable Parts. It's a great opportunity for school leavers to come and get some practical skills, but it allows them to gain a degree while they're doing that. It means they don't have to go away to find those opportunities. We're the main sponsors of the local shinty team, and this year we've provided their kits for them. So that's great. We look forward to seeing how they do this season. Renewable Parts is playing an integral role in making the supply chain of the wind industry greener. But there is more that can be done there, and to do that we need to work with local government, with universities. Those are the ways that we're going to change the industry for the better and address climate change. Scotland has significant growth targets for the wind industry, particularly in offshore. That creates a challenge in terms of where the raw materials are going to come from. So while it's a challenge for the industry, it's an opportunity for us, and it's an opportunity for the whole of Scotland to create these kind of green, sustainable jobs in remanufacturing.
And to present the Ashden Awards for Energy Innovation, please welcome Kath Bremner from Impacts Assessment Management, and to receive the award, Michael Forbes from Renewable Parts. While they're having their photo taken, I'll tell you an interesting fact about wind turbines. When I was in Scotland at the largest onshore wind farm, I found out the actual colour of a wind turbine, you might think it's white, it's actually the average colour of the UK sky, a very light grey. There you go.
Thank you very much. Wow. So renewable energy is the future. And recent events have shown that the green energy transition can't happen fast enough. But also we need to consider what's going on behind the scenes. A turbine might be a green way of producing energy, but it still has embedded carbon from its manufacture and carbon footprint from its working life that depends on how parts are replaced when it's turning. During the life of a turbine, the vast majority of component parts will be replaced with new. We have to create a mindset where recirculated components are the natural first choice. As pioneers in keeping valuable resources out of landfill, Renewable Parts is a safety net for our customers. A last check to say, can this part be recirculated? Our customers range from large multinational companies to a farmer with one turbine in a field. In any case, global supply chain for new parts is struggling, and remanufactured components are more and more often the solution. We're training local people, and these people will be the first generation of engineers dedicated to remanufacture. But we also can't forget people from a fossil fuel background and those related industries who undoubtedly have transferable skills. The first generation of turbines are coming to the end of life. When they come down, it would be a disaster for all that material to become scrap or landfill. As a relatively new industry, we have lessons to learn from others who have been there before. There'll be no excuses if our children are having to melt down or bury 100-metre tall turbines in 30 years' time. Thank you.
Thank you to Kath, and congratulations to Renewable Parts. Now on to the UK Awards. This is the final UK award this evening, and it's the Ashden Award for Greening All Work, supported by LinkedIn. And the winner is a company that has its sights set on transforming the film industry. It's Vector Sets, and here is what they do.
I'm Chris Gilmore, and I'm the director of Vector Sets. We use a paper-based board to make sets, to make scenery for film and TV. I had started from a PhD in sustainable design and was looking how paper could be used to improve different areas of production. The film and TV industry is horrendous in terms of waste. There's so many productions will make specific sets for one series, one episode, 30 seconds of an advert, and then they're scrapped the day after. When you're making a TV show or an advert, you make a wooden set with wooden doors, windows, tiles, you paint it, you plaster it. It takes a long time, it uses a lot of materials, and it can't be recycled. We can make sets that look like real rooms, but it's all done using paper. And as we know, paper is very recyclable. We get this kind of reaction when people go, paper sets, cardboard sets, oh, you can't be there, that's ridiculous. I think it brings up ideas of 1970s Doctor Who wobbly sets. The board that we're using is paper-based, but it's engineered board, and it is ridiculously strong. You know, this is almost as strong as MDF. Here's one I made earlier that you can actually stand on. The way the board is made is very ecological, and then it's lighter to transport, so we're using less fuel to transport it. We can machine it in the factory and print it, so we're not using paints, and then it arrives on set as a flat pack ready to go, and it can just be assembled in minutes and then put on set straight away. We'll take the 3D models typically done on the computer, translate them into the paper version. Our designers work out how it's going to be cut and folded. It's been a lot of work to find techniques that work, ways of printing and cutting the board so that it looks good on camera. And you wouldn't know it's paper until you pick it up. We're working with universities that are incorporating it into their training. So traditional scenery courses are now including paper-based things, which is fantastic. We've already got apprentices working with us. We're very keen for people already working in the industry to learn these skills as well, so they can start using it. The actual assembly is really straightforward, so the only training is what to do if it needs to be changed, it needs to be modified on set. The factories and the systems that we're using are found around the globe. We're kind of hijacking a technology that's already there. So the infrastructure's there. It's just making sure we've got the network in place of designers and artists who are using it on set. But that's what we're working to with the training.
We'll never watch TV the same again, will we? And actually, Coronation Street is one of the many TV shows that are on, so I should be keeping my eyes peeled for those. So here to present the Ashden Award for Greening All Work is Jessica White from LinkedIn. And to collect the prize, please welcome Chris Gilmore and Tom Henderson from Stockport-based company Vector Sets.
Nice film, Chris. Loving your work. I think we all love films, TV. One of my favourites is Apollo 13. Jim Lovell, played by Tom Hanks, uttering those famously misquoted words. Houston, we have a problem. We have a problem. But we think we have a solution that can get us back to Earth. A solution that allows the film and TV industry to be even more creative and at the same time consume less and contribute more in a tangible solution to this climate disaster that we face. The film and TV industry has for years told this compelling story, and well, and the need for climate action. And yet, right in their backyard, we've done exactly the opposite. Building wood and unsustainable sets. Daily we see sets, large and small sets, built for film, TV, and TV commercials, only to be scrapped the next day, or stored and then eventually sent to landfill or biomass. Our challenge in Vector is to find a way to accelerate the growth of paper-based sets globally, to equip the TV and film industry, the film companies, and the people in the industry with training, the tools, resources to make this massive change for the better. And as we say in Vector, we can only change the world if first we change our own world sustainably. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jessica, and also congratulations to Vector Sets. I might need a new weather desk soon, so I know where to come for that. And weather maps too, possibly. So congratulations to all of our wonderful UK winners. We're going to take a pause to proceedings for some conversation. And since the 1970s, the brilliant Brian Eno has been creating groundmaking and thought-provoking music, not to mention working with just about every influential musician in the last 50 years. I'm not going to give away his age, though, obviously, to some capacity. He's also a visual artist and an environmental activist. Last year, he launched Earth% to raise money for the music industry to support charities working towards the climate emergency. And just 2 weeks ago, he released his latest album, which is a response to the climate emergency that we face. So we're delighted to have him here with us tonight. So Brian Eno, in conversation with Ashden CEO, Harriet Lamb.
Hello. Just checking the mic.
So good evening, everybody, and what a pleasure to be here to chat with you, Brian, in front of this very eco-friendly fire. The warmth of all you lovely people here in the room and, of course, online. And just to let you into a little secret, I have to say that actually Brian is so beautifully modest that he actually didn't really want to talk about his new album, Forever and Ever No More, which was just released 2 weeks ago, and I knew that all of you, including myself, would be dying to hear about it. So he's kindly agreed to at least give us a little insight into this album. And honestly, you wouldn't really come to me for your musical criticism. But believe me, this is just hauntingly beautiful album. So Brian, what inspired you to produce it?
Well, I suppose like any artist, I make things because I kind of imagine them and think that they should exist, or I want to see them in existence. It's often what happens. I hear something else and I think, that could be better. And I often think I'm just trying to improve something that already exists, an idea that already exists. But with this particular one, I felt that I really want to address some feelings that I felt were going around. A lot of people had those feelings, and they were feelings of melancholy, perhaps, at what we're losing, nostalgia at what's already gone, anger, regret, but also a sense of possibility for the future. And so I was feeling this turmoil of all of those kinds of feelings, and they seem to have come out on this album. I thought I'd kept them rather well concealed, but everyone seems to agree with me that that's what it's about.
So would you say, in particular, some of the beautiful songs about nature, in particular, about the sun, about, let's talk about the fireflies and the nematodes, are you mourning for the climate crisis?
I am happy to say that this is probably the first album that's ever mentioned nematodes. Well, I feel that we really have to change the way we think about this. We keep calling it a climate crisis, and of course it is. We're facing a catastrophe. But as Andrew Boyd says, we could at least try to face a better catastrophe. You know, we don't have a choice. We're drifting towards catastrophe. It's already sort of locked in a certain sense. The climate situation is such that certain things are definitely going to happen and are already happening. But we could work for a better catastrophe. We could work to try to make, we've got choices actually, we still have a lot of choices. It's going to be bad, but we could prevent it being really, really bad. That doesn't sound like a very optimistic message, does it? But I want to say something else about that as well, which is that in order to try to stop it being really bad, we have to change a lot of things. And those are all the things that we wanted to change anyway. We have to get rid of huge inequalities between people. We have to think of an economics that makes sense, unlike the economic systems we have now. We have to rethink our relationships, not only with each other, with different races, different nationalities and so on, but also with the planet and with technologies. We have to rethink how we relate to all of these things. Now we have a real reason for doing that. There's so much pressure that we get this right. So I think in attempting to avoid the worst catastrophe, we have to rethink society and we have to rethink ourselves and our ways of thinking. So that's the good news, actually. The chances are that after a pretty desperate 50 years or a century, we'll come out of this with a really new world and a better world.
That's
so that
really
doesn't
inspiring.
sound too bad, does it?
And I think that really chimes actually with all the amazing solutions to the climate crisis that we've heard about already today and are about to hear about. People actually already creating that inspiring better future. And I think it's so beautiful when that's coupled with what you as an artist, what Rakea, what Koshi's music before can really help fire our imaginations up to imagine that different, perhaps more regenerative way of living and being. And is that what is your vision of the future then?
I want to see, well, right now we're living at the moment of maximum human intellect, if you like. There's more brain power on the planet than there's ever been. There's more ways of amplifying that brain power, and there's more ways of connecting brains to each other. So in theory, we're in a golden age of intellectual activity. Now, all those connections have good and bad results. We've seen a lot of the bad results, a lot of the things that have been happening politically and, you know, the collapse of democracy in many countries, including this one actually, are evidence of the bad side of those sudden, quick connections being made. But I think what we have to remember is that construction is very slow. Destruction is very fast. We've been seeing the destructive phase of all this interconnectedness now. But the constructive phase is going on. There are so many people working now. I just was talking to someone before I came on stage who said there are 350,000 people in London professionally engaged in dealing with climate change in some way. That's a huge movement. So here we are in the middle of the biggest movement in human history. There's never been anything that so many people have been simultaneously engaged upon. We don't hear much about what they're doing because they aren't the stories that bleed, so the media don't want to cover them. But there's so much good news. These things we saw were examples of that. There's so much of this good news, and it's like a thickening thicket, some kind of fungal undergrowth that we're all standing on top of. And occasionally we see little shoots of it, like a few wind farms and a few solar panels and so on. But in fact, people are rebuilding everything, governance systems, how we think about how we come to decisions communally, how we reach consensus, economic systems, all these things are being rethought. But mostly we don't know about it, and mostly the people in it don't know about each other. So the stage I'm looking forward to is the second stage of revolutions. The Russian historian Sergei Yurchak said that revolutions happen in two phases. The first is when everyone realizes something's wrong. The second is when everyone realizes that everybody else realizes that as well. And this is where I think we're coming up to now, that we're approaching the point of coalescence where we suddenly realize that we're not alone. We're not the sort of lonely resistance. We're the majority. And I think we're about to turn that corner now.
So are you more optimistic or pessimistic?
Short-term pessimist, long-term optimist.
And do you see, it was really interesting what you were saying about hearing these stories and that actually we don't hear them enough. And so do you think we all need to become storytellers now?
That's a very good idea. Yes, first of all, I think we all have stories. I had the idea a long, long time ago of producing a magazine called Ordinary People, which was not about celebrities. It was just about ordinary people talking about their stories. And whenever you hear them, they're incredibly fascinating and interesting and engaging. That idea might have to wait for a couple more years, but I think that would work. No, I think we all have... People talk with great animation and intelligence about things that they've experienced, as opposed to the things they haven't experienced, like the crap they pick up on the internet. Sorry, crap isn't the word I should use. But it's crap, yes. I'll use that word.
And so, in that, do you also... Which are the ways, then, that in particular in the creative industry, do you think that you can show that real leadership? Obviously, you're doing it through the stories you're telling. We're seeing the brilliant work of vector sets hitting Coronation Street.
Yeah.
What are the other ways in which do you think the creative industries can really help lead the way?
Well, you have to ask the question, what do artists do, to answer that? I don't know if I've got time to give a full answer to that question, but I think artists, for our purposes here, do two things. First of all, they direct your attention somewhere. They say, look at this, take this seriously, think about this. And this might be something that people don't take very seriously. And it's a way of dignifying certain things and saying, this is worth thinking about, this is worth having feelings about. But the second thing that artists do, I think, is they propose other worlds. So you can see this very clearly with narrative forms like writing and filmmaking, where people say, how would you like to live in this world? What does this world do for you? And those worlds can be utopian or dystopian or normally complex, like most of the world is. But nonetheless, they give you the experience of understanding something about those possible worlds without actually having to live in them. So the point I make very often to artists, and they sometimes find it a bit offensive, is that art is safe. It's a safe place. So we can live in 1984 or in Brave New World or a dystopia like that and see what we feel about it. This, I think, is how humans begin to understand worlds. Of course, we live in a world, but actually we are surrounded by other possible worlds. Which ones do we want? And I think the experience of art is an experience of trying to understand that, how to make those kinds of choices. So that's the aesthetic side of what artists do. The other thing they can do is pull their fingers out and do something about it, and stop being so arty. So we tried to do this recently. We started an organization called Earth%. And the idea of Earth% is to go to the music industry and say, look, you're making so much money. They're making a lot of money. COVID didn't make any difference to that. The music industry is a very big industry, and a lot of money flows through it. And one of the interesting things about the music industry is that most of the people in it are pretty generous and and feel pretty lucky about the position they're in. You know, it's nice to work in a job that you love doing, and most people in the music business love their jobs. So they're quite easily disposed to supporting things. So what we thought was, what about setting up an organization that says to everybody in the music industry, not only the artists and the writers and the producers, but the accountants and the lawyers and the people who make the technology and the equipment, what about saying to them, why don't you give us 1% of something? We don't specify exactly what that's of. Give us 1% and we'll redistribute that to the most effective climate change organizations. So we started this about a year ago, and it's getting underway now. We've got quite a few people signing up, and we're hoping to get more. So we're trying to create this connection between music and the planet. And we've just come up with what I think is a truly brilliant new idea, which is, so you probably don't know, but when you write a song, you publish a song, and you have to write on the publishing forms who the co-writers were. It might be just one person, it might be 5 people. So you split up the 100% of the royalties between 3 or 4 or 5 people. We've now made a mechanism where you can include the Earth as one of your royalty recipients. So any artist now writing a song who wants to give something to climate change organizations just says 5% for the Earth. So this took a lot of legal work to get.
Can you imagine?
Sorry,
yes. No, but a brilliant result, absolutely brilliant. And yeah.
Yeah, we're looking forward to an Ashden Awards sometime in the future.
You never know. And we're also looking forward, I guess, to people stealing that brilliant idea, whatever sector they work in, isn't it? And I think that's what we have always felt as well, that in the end, every job is a climate job, wherever you work. You don't have to be, much as we love all our renewable energy nerds, of which this room is full. Actually, if we're really going to create the future society, it's going to need everyone, whether they're farmers or IT workers or teachers or refugees or people caught up in the conflicts, which we didn't get time to talk about, but which I know is equally important to you. And it's only that if all of us, whatever our particular piece of poetry or music, can help create that greener, fairer future that we all want to see, that we can live up to your optimistic, longer-term vision. So thank you so much, Brian, for coming and sharing all your thoughts with us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Brian and Harriet. And it's amazing again that we've already heard how I could do weather reports to communicate climate change. Poetry can communicate climate change in the music industry as well. And like we said, everybody is responsible for helping to communicate our climate emergency if we all work together and use of our powers. I was fortunate enough in the job that I have at Good Morning Britain to visit Svalbard last year. It's an archipelago halfway between Norway and the North Pole, and it's warming more than anywhere on planet Earth. We now know that the Arctic is warming 3 to 4 times faster than the rest of the planet. The Svalbard is warming nearly 6 times faster, and we had a discussion about whether we should go, fly, have a carbon footprint to go and report on it. I'd read the reports about the cryosphere, I knew the science, I knew what was happening, but actually visiting in real life actually helped me to feel the science and feel the reality. I stood at the edge of a glacier and looked down the hill half a mile away, and the man who took me there said 40 years ago when I arrived, and I was turning 40 the next week, the glacier was half a mile down the road. And you just think, wow, that's a vast amount of ice that's lost. But he said, not only that, if you look up 10 meters, that is how much volume there was. And that's happening in Svalbard, every glacier there, throughout the Arctic. The landscape completely changing. It made me think about my daughter and how the landscape could look if she visits when she's my age. We also learned about how the glaciers are not just melting, but the sea ice is melting. And it means that the activities that they used to do, like snowmobiling, going husky riding, they can't do that anymore. The whole tourism industry had to change. change overnight, and for about 2 years, they had no tourism for these kind of activities and had to rethink the way that things worked. We also learnt about the fate of the polar bears there, who are usually swim in the waters, which are Arctic waters, eating Arctic cod, but now the waters are warmer. They're Atlantic waters with Atlantic cod. They don't give them as much nutrition, they have to swim further. Polar bears are dying in their droves. We learnt that there's now more rain than there used to be compared to snow, and reindeer can scurry through the snow to look for food, but now that it rains and then it freezes, they can't break through the ice, and reindeer are also dying. So I just saw the reality of climate change firsthand. Like I said, it made me think about my daughter and the scary facts that we have right now, that the last 7 years on Earth have been the 7 warmest, the last decade, the warmest decade. We have our highest level of concentration of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere, the highest ocean heat content, record wildfires and record sea levels. And it's the global south and those most disadvantaged who are often the worst impacted by climate change. And it's here also that some of the most amazing innovations are happening. So it's now time to look for some inspiration, where last week in Nairobi, Ashden announced 5 brilliant winners from across Asia and across Africa. It's so important, obviously, Africa, because it will be the eyes of the world from next week for 2 weeks when COP26 happens there. And they all demonstrate positive impact of acting on climate change. It creates jobs, it can skill up new workforces, it can secure livelihoods, as well as getting us to the path of net zero futures. We have some wonderful people here who are in London to celebrate with us tonight. So first of all, it's our award for energising refugee livelihoods, and support this are lots of lovely people. We have the Lintbury Trust, we have the Alan and Babette Sainsbury's Charitable Fund, the JAC Trust, and the Aurora Trust, and a public appeal. And the winners of this award is an amazing organisation. It's run by an extraordinary young man. It's Kakuma Ventures from Kenya. So let's hear about his work in transforming the lives of people who are some of the most vulnerable in the world.
My name is Innocent Chilombo, and I've been living here in Kakuma refugee camp since 2009. I came to Kenya when I fled my home country, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the founder of Kakuma Ventures. When I arrived here, there was no access to energy, there was no access to internet. I needed to connect to my university in the US. When I faced those challenges and I succeeded, then I said, okay, I should build something that can also support others so that more people can also graduate from the refugee camp. The cost of the internet is always very high in developing countries. Kakuma Ventures provides cheap internet, which allows customers to save up to 70% of their cost. We've been able to connect more than 1,400 people to the internet, and some of them, it was their first time to really connect to unlimited internet. Kakuma Ventures have been providing training to the wide community because there is a huge gap when it comes to digital literacy here in the refugee camp. Young people come here to access internet, to access digital literacy, to access other content and information. For us to do our job, we work with entrepreneur partners, refugees. They are like the front liner for us because they do the solar maintenance and they also respond to all the needs of the customers. We're able to pay them in cash.
Kwa majina naitwa Morani Mtebwa Majini. Na supply hapa Wi-Fi Block 6 mzima.
We were inspired also to develop the listing platform whereby we allow refugee entrepreneurs to list their products through our portal. We list all these products in this shop through our portal so that people out there can buy from them through the internet. Kakuma Ventures, as a refugee-led and founded organization, faces a lot of challenges. People look at it as temporary, and yet the refugee life never been temporary. People have been living here in Kakuma refugee camp for more than 2 decades now. Refugees are people who are smart, they work hard. It's really very important for the refugees to get connected to the rest of the world so that they can be able to trade with them, to work with them. The refugees should not remain behind.
And to present the Ashden Award for Energising Refugee Livelihoods, please welcome Daniela Lloyd-Williams from the JAC Trust and the winner, Innocent Shimbola from Kakuma Ventures.
Wow, this is incredible. Do you outsource remote labor? Hire from us. Yeah. Do you develop content? Share with us, and you'll see how much knowledge you'll get from the refugee camp, and you'll get your product delivered, made from Kakuma. You have learned from the film that we do list product, and we also add value. You know, there we add the fabrics, and now here we have the service. And that's what we want to offer to the large world. More than ever, displaced people need access to energy and internet connectivity. Why? To rebuild our future and to sustain our community. And more importantly, to restore our dignity. How? Through digital transformation, through accessing digital services and digital opportunities in education, employment, and trade. We can supply this to Europe. Yeah. Our solution, as you have seen here, of creating clean energy, internet connectivity, and new jobs is a game changer to break the cycle of dependency. We have been receiving aid for decades, and it never changed our lives. Now it's time to change the game, and we believe in this solution to be a game changer. We want to take the destiny of our own lives in our own hand. And we can only do that if we really are able to sustain our own livelihood for ourselves and for our dependents. When I arrived in the Kakuma refugee camp, it was when I fled the country, I lost all my relatives. I needed to rebuild again my family. And I started a family in the refugee camp. I have kids in the refugee camp. What about their future? Only until I'm able to sustain myself, not depending on aid, but using my brain, unlocking my potentials. And I'm talking about 90 million people globally. In the Kakuma refugee camp alone, we have 200,000. And with these services, we only attend less than 10%. For you, take the challenge. Come. I give you the challenge. Compete with us for that, to connect the remaining 90% and the rest of the 90 million people. Will you take the challenge? I'm here. Ooh, take the challenge. Thank you very much. That's great. What happened? We have been overshadowed by our status. As a refugee, leading a refugee company, the company is also a refugee company. And what happened? We are falling into cracks when it's coming to accessing funding. We need more inclusive policies to strengthen our resilience and ensure a sustainable future for everyone. We have the solution and capability to solve the most pressing problem of the 21st century. With our ecological and replicable services, and we are hoping to even connect more refugees to have light shining in more displacement settings. And for that, I would like to call upon you to partner with us, to work with us to build a more inclusive and equitable society. Thank you.
Thank you to Daniela, and congratulations to Kakuma Ventures. And I guess we just take for granted the fact that we're electrified and we can get online, and I think we'll all think very differently about that now. Our next award is for Vital Energy Access Skills, and it's supported by LinkedIn. The judging for this award was incredibly tough. The judges felt so strong that there are two finalists, two final winners in this award. It's the first time this has ever happened. They've done excellent work, innovative work, and it's really, really important. We want to tell these stories that they've been telling so urgently, and that's the reason why we have both of them. So the winners are Zonful Energy from Zimbabwe and Energy Generation from Togo. So let's find out more.
My name is William Ponela. I'm the founder and CEO of Zonful Energy. I was born and bred in Masvingo, one of the remote places in the southern part of Zimbabwe. I remember very well when I was growing up and experienced the effects of energy poverty. I went to college and come back. 20 years later, the situation was still the same. The same people were still without energy to light in their houses, and therefore I did find a solution. Zonful Energy is a social enterprise specializing in eradicating energy poverty in the remote rural places. We train and give skills to people to work as technicians, as sales agents within the energy space.
Ndinonzi Rachel Mabwe, ndinogara kuMondoro kwaNyariri. Ndinoshandira kambani inonzi Zonful Energy. Taitambudzika tichishandisa makenduru, tichishandisa parafini. Muno idzi dzaifuma dzakaita black neningi nerambi. Pavakauya vachitengesa komalights ava, ina handina kunonoka kutenga. Pakazonzi kunodiwa munhu anoenda kutraining, ndakatiwo ndinodawo kuenda.
The trainees learn about the solar technology, installation, maintenance, marketing, as well as financial management. So we have trained over 2,000 people, and there are some who are directly taken on board as Zonful employees, or they get on the Zonful platform. People have also gone to work for other companies in the space. The Zonful app is a platform where we actually onboard all the trainees who have not yet been employed by Zonful. They download the app on their smartphones, and when a job raises, we send in a ticket to potential candidates who would have been trained. And this works like an Uber kind of an arrangement where those who pick up the job first are the ones who get paid.
Ndiri zone coordinator. Ese mkomisha yoyo ma customers angu. Saka ndo zvandingangotaura kuti aiwa handisati ndane kuzvichemo navo kwavari kuzvifarira. Kubhadharira vana chikoro ndaingomirira baba. Pane kutenga chikafu mumba ndaingomirira baba. Yezvinezvi ndindatoo baba pano. Zone 4. Ikambani yakanaka iyoyo.
My name is Ashria Fataki. I was born in Kinshasa, and now I work in Togo. The employment challenges across Africa and in Togo are pretty much the same. The population is growing way faster than the job creation. Sectors like energy are actually creating new type of jobs that require new type of skills. I have been working as an energy professional for the past 10 years. I realized that if we really want to accelerate the energy transition on the continent, we need to build local capacities and local entrepreneurs. So that's the reason why I decided to create Energy Generation. We train young Africans to become entrepreneurs. We designed a 2-year program that helps us bring the entrepreneurs from the idea stage to the market. They come with an idea and need to develop a business model around this idea. We have a makerspace where they can actually develop a prototype from their ideas, test them, and then improve them on the go. At Energy Generation, we believe that building successful and meaningful businesses takes time. If an entrepreneur is truly committed to grow their business, we will stay alongside them for at least 5 years. Training and supporting women entrepreneurs is super crucial. Businesses led by women tend to be a little bit more successful than others, and also because when women increase their income, they actually share it and distribute it more evenly within their households. At Energy Generation, we also offer short-term training program that train technicians to install and maintain solar home system so that they can actually contribute to improve energy access in rural areas. The main challenge that our startups are facing right now is the capital in order to grow their business faster. And so we are actually working towards implementing a seed investment fund so that they can grow their business from scratch. I think we can safely say that the Africa startup revolution has started.
And to present the Ashden Award for Energy Access Skills, please welcome back Jessica White from LinkedIn. And to accept the awards, please give a very warm welcome to Ashria Fataki from Energy Generation and William Panela from Zonful Energy. It was easy to see why it was too difficult for the judges to choose just one winner from these two. And obviously, big up to the girl power as well.
Thank you very much. Well, this is such an honor for me to receive this prize tonight on behalf of the entire and amazing Energy Generation team, and also on behalf of all the entrepreneurs that actually inspire our work on a daily basis. And Lord knows we need inspiration, because what we do is hard, is very hard. And you know, when I was younger and I would look at the state of the world, I would look especially at the inequalities, the constant abuse of human dignity and of the environment. And there was only two ways for me to make sense out of it. So either we were living in a world shaped by a small group of very evil people with a very evil agenda, or a world shaped by idiots with no agenda at all. Either way, it was very frustrating and I felt powerless. But as I grew up and I matured as a person and as a professional, I realized that the world is actually shaped by those who do nothing, those who choose the easy way and choose to turn a blind eye to the challenges that the world is facing. But at Energy Generation, we do something. Every single day, we make the decision to try to do the right thing, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because believe me, turning one idea into a successful social business, it's no piece of cake. So imagine doing this with thousands of ideas. It's hard, but it's what we do. And we do it, we make sacrifices so that we can bring relevant solutions to very complex problems. And beyond the training and the capacity building, the entrepreneurial support that you heard about in the film, our real goal is to inspire young people in Africa and beyond to be powerful and impactful change makers so that they can actually shape a better future for themselves, their communities, their continent, and of course for our common world. So I hope that this prize is also an opportunity to inspire more people to do something, to do the right thing, so that we can shape a better world and not living to either evil or idiots. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. The most interesting thing about our job is there is another school of thought which says teaching is learning twice. So every time when we are teaching these people, we are also equally learning new things. So the issue of development becomes a continuous process and very sustainable. Imagine the moment that we turn off the light switch and then the heating. Now imagine that your smartphone battery is flat. Is it dark? Are you feeling cold or disconnected from your family and friends? You should be, and you certainly would be. This is what it is like to over 1 billion people in the world, with the majority of these people living in sub-Saharan Africa. Powering up life support people to boost their incomes, health, and resilience, and set countries on course for a zero carbon future. While the energy sector has made rapid progress in recent years, shortage of qualified workers is hindering and limiting its growth. Zonful, as one of the leaders in this space, have realized that energy access or universal energy access can only be achieved by making sure that we provide appropriate and rightful set of skills in this. Hence, our main initiatives in this sector. Ladies and gentlemen, the time of acting is now, and this is the time where we can create a fairer and a better world. We must try by all means to ensure that all children born today have the chance of rewarding sustainable career in the energy sector. Our vision as a company is not to leave anyone behind. I humbly call upon everyone in this room to come on board with Zonful on this journey. Thank you.
thank you to Jessica, and congratulations again to Energy Generation and Zonful Energy as well. And yes, you're right, we don't want to leave anybody behind. Now, our last two awards are supported by the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. They're focused on two areas critical to tackling the climate emergency: agriculture and nature. So the first of these awards is for energising agriculture, and the winner is Soko Fresh from Kenya. So let's see what they've got up to.
My name is Dennis Karema. I am from Nairobi, Kenya. I am the CEO of Soko Fresh. Farmers face multiple challenges. They are not able to get big orders or extend the shelf life of their produce. Soko Fresh is a company that provides farmers with access to cold storage technology that is solar powered, as well as access to market for their fruits. Soko Fresh recruits farmers within a region. We group farmers together because when farmers are grouped, they are able to have synchronized harvests and to have huge volumes of produce. Our app is able to help us in the process of communicating updates to farmers regarding when to harvest, the prices in the market. Our operations team is able to advise farmers on some of the things that they need to do to be able to have better quality yields. The produce moves from the farms to the cold storage facility, and within 2 to 3 days, the produce reaches the volumes that the buyers need. We try to set up the cold storage as close as possible to where these farmers are. They are semi-mobile, so we can move it from one region to the other. We are able to store up to 5 tons of produce. The advantage of this is that farmers' produce can be aggregated to bulk. And so we are able to negotiate better prices for the farmers, which means extra income for them. We work with a number of buyers, both export, processing, and domestic buyers. The advantage that Soko Fresh provides to each of the buyers that we work with is they're able to get good quality produce, and the buyer can tell where each batch of the produce has come from. The issue we are solving is not just here in Kenya. It's an issue that is affecting most of the smallholder farmers across sub-Saharan Africa.
And to present the Ashden Award for Energising Agriculture, please welcome back on stage Kate Hughes from Bays, and also our winner, Dennis from Soko Fresh.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it's such a great honor for me and the Soko Fresh team to win this award. There's a great crisis happening in sub-Saharan Africa, where we rely on smallholder farmers for all our food production. And the challenge is that of post-harvest losses that lead to about 40% of their produce going to waste. But this should not be the case. Soko Fresh provides access to cold storage and market linkage services that enable smallholder farmers to participate better in the food value chain, to be able to store their produce for 3 days, 5 days, or 7 days, to aggregate it to get to the sufficient volumes that then enables them to access better markets and better prices. John, a 50-year-old farmer who accesses Soko Fresh services, recently told me that he's able to sell up to 95% of his produce and earn up to 40% more than he used to do previously. This is the testimonial we want for millions of smallholder farmers across sub-Saharan Africa. We have a proven and scalable business model, and we need your help to be able to get it to every smallholder farmer in Africa. We want to make post-harvest losses a distant memory that farmers can forget about. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kate, and congratulations again to SocoFresh. Now we come on to the last, but by no means least award, and it's the second award from Bays, and it's the Ashden Award for Natural Climate Solutions. And the winner of this award comes from a rainforest in Borneo, and they've developed a brilliant way to give local people alternatives to illegal logging. The winners are Astri, so let's see what they do.
My name is Nur Febriani, and I'm the Executive Director of ASTRI. ASTRI believes that community design solutions are very effective to help deforestation and curb global heating. We approach the experts, the rainforest communities who have lived in this rainforest for many generations. They know how best to protect the forest. Conservation is not only about conservation. It's interconnected with healthcare, education, livelihood. So we need to address those challenges at the same time.
Perkenalkan, nama saya Karim, asal Tipa Kuning. Itu keadaan. Yang saya bilang tadi, keadaan oleh karena saya membutuhkan keuangan. Nah itu. Saya tengah gesek langsung didatang dari kehutanan gitu. Langsung dihubungkannya ke ASRI. Tahu ASRI, awalnya saya masuk itulah program UKM. Waktu itu kan saya ditawarkan masalah sejumlah uang. Nah, makanya saya pilih nelayan. Saya ada kelebihan masalah keuangan dari kebun, dari klinik ASRI. Seperti saya menjadi anggota sahut, ada gajinya sedikit sedikit. Saya tabung, saya sisihkan untuk beli papan ini. Sudah, pokoknya sekarang ini saya sudah siap mengembalikan. Memang sudah dikembalikan gitu, dari pembayaran bibit, dari setoran keuangan, per bulannya. Kalau dulu ada kesulitan, kalau sekarang enggak. Sebab itu mempermudahkan lewat bibit. Bahkan saya pun sedikit demi sedikit udah ada tabungan di ASRI.
The rainforest communities design and lead the programs that ASTRI is doing every day, like Goats for Widows, where we support widows, basically the most vulnerable in the community, to have alternative livelihood. Also, we teach kids and teenagers on the importance of the environment, healthcare, biodiversity, all those things that support their health and also the health of the forest.
Saya pun sering kontrol masa mitra-mitra yang ada ikut itu. Jadi yang jelas mereka yang mana ikut itu tidak berani lah ya, mau mengulangi itu. Seperti tentang keuangan, tentang penghijauan, tentang malah ada penebangan, itu yang saya dapat dari ASRI.
And to present the Ashden Award for Natural Climate Solutions, please welcome back on stage Kate Hughes from ASTRI, and also from ASTRI, Nur Febriani.
One day, I met a logger. He wanted to stop but just didn't know how. He said, I can't be a teacher. I didn't go to school. I can't be a fisherman. I don't know how to swim.
All I know is logging. 15 years ago, there were more than 1,000 loggers cutting around 500,000 trees a year in West Borneo when ASRI started. Many people had to log to pay for healthcare. After listening for hundreds of hours to the communities, we designed programs they told us they needed: healthcare, education, reforestation, and alternative livelihoods. So we set up clinics where patients can pay with seedlings and plant those seedlings in the degraded forest area. We give conservation education, we provide organic farming training, we buy chainsaws from loggers, and in return, we provide them with financial support so that they can do more sustainable work, like chicken farming, field farming, or opening kiosks. After 10 years, we've seen a drastic change. The number of households doing illegal logging has dropped nearly 90%, and infant mortality has dropped almost 70%. That's remarkable. Communities and ecosystems are doing better when we tackle the issues together at the same time. We know that this combined approach is necessary to bringing about a thriving and resilient future for the rainforest communities and for our planet. Let's connect to protect the remaining forest, saving forests, saving lives.
Thank you, Kate, and congratulations again to ASRI. We have seen some brilliant solutions and some inspiring people on stage here this evening, but we need many, many more of them if we're going to do this quick enough. We need to listen to the people, we need to listen to these winners and take accelerated change. But we also need to listen to people like Marima Kamara from Smiling Through Light. And she's here to share our thoughts and tell us about the amazing Power Up campaign.
Women, girls, and other traditionally marginalized groups experience energy poverty more profoundly and need to be actively engaged to ensure a sustainable energy transition, not just as beneficiaries, but as agents of change. Smiling Through Light focuses on clean energy access. We work with a network of local women to provide clean, reliable, and sustainable energy through the distribution and sales of solar products, focusing on the last mile. Our key impacts to date include creating 12 full-time jobs and supporting our teams with bank accounts. We've sold over 1,000 solar products, reaching 9,000 people. We've trained over 800 community leaders on clean energy through storytelling. And most of all, we've got key partnerships, which is one of them that I need to talk about today, the Power Up campaign. I want all of you on the way out to make sure you pick up one of these cards. It is what you need to do today, not just to enjoy the networking, but to be a part of this campaign. Power Up is uniting and amplifying African voices in pursuit of climate justice, including frontline organizations like ourselves, Shine Campaign, Solar Sisters, to name a few. It is boosting Africans' efforts to seek greater global funding for affordable green energy. We heard from a lot of the local entrepreneurs today about access to finance, and this is a key thing that the campaign is trying to do. It is also unlocking ambitious pledges from wealthy countries, starting with action at COP. To date, we have over 44 organizations that's joined the campaign, and we're calling for more to join. We, as Smiling Through Light, are supporting the campaign because we know with backing from an organization such as Ashden, it can play and give us a bigger role It's also dealing with funding inequalities, as a lot of local organizations are not able to access energy finance. And we need it to be much more inclusive, which we know they will be able to do. So I will just end with a quick story about a lady called Mariatu Toure. Mariatu Toure is one of our customers who works in Lonsau, Sierra Leone. She's a trader, and with her solar-powered light, she's able to earn more, work within her community, and support her household. We know with Power Up campaign, we can have many more Mariatu Toures, and that's why we need all of you to support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mariama, and it's interesting to see that energy and green energy has come up so much this evening, and all of our winners have been so inspiring this year. And just to close, I just think one thing I get asked a lot is, do you think that one person can make a difference to tackle climate change? And I think we've seen this evening there are lots of individuals who have helped to influence many others. So the answer is yes, we need this to be funded. We need it to be upscaled and spread around the world. People often also say, is it possible? Short-term pessimistic, long-term optimistic. And I think from all of the stories, not just stories, real-life people making these real-life changes, it is possible. And I feel much more positive just from hearing the stories today. I wrote a letter to my daughter to say that I'm sorry that we are overusing our planet, that we have polluted all of the oceans and all the skies, and I promise that we will do everything we can to make a difference. And my hope is that she can visit the tiny low-lying islands that are under threat of being underwater. She can visit Svalbard, and the landscape will be just as beautiful as it was when I visited. And I think that, you know, today we certainly feel much more inspired that that is possible. And we saw the weather forecast at the beginning for the whole globe, overheating. But the hope is that we can actually transform our world and that we can turn that weather forecast into a very different one where we help to limit our warming. So I just want to say again, thank you very much to Ashden. Thank you very much to all of you coming this evening. I would like to invite all of our winners back on stage for a celebratory photo. And of course, please join us afterwards at the main drinks reception. Thank you very much again. All the award winners like to come up on stage.